I'm Will Dempsey. From Syracuse, New York. I'm a indoor lacrosse goalie.
I think you're a little more than that. As I know you, you were on Team USA for the under 21 team last year.
Yeah, this last
And
yeah.
yeah, so this last summer, on top of playing with the Eels and on top of playing with the LGODS, plus you play field lacrosse in college, correct?
I do not play field lacrosse.
Oh, okay. I thought,
I'm at here at my school. I'm a student coach.
oh, that's awesome. And you go to Onondaga?
Yeah,
That's a pretty impressive school to be a student coach.
yeah. We got a pretty good program here. Yeah, I love
And
it. It's fun.
yeah, how long have you been there?
It's a community college, so it's a 2 year school. And I'm in my second year right now.
Awesome. Now last year, how did you guys do?
Um, we lost in quarterfinals to Nassau. So, and I think it was 8-7 the final score. So it was a really close game, but we're gonna do better this year. We are.
That's awesome. You were definitely no stranger to close games. I've seen quite a few of your games that are pretty close.
Yeah, those are not my favorite games, but they're uh they're fun.
Yeah. Well, the thing that really impressed me was I did not know you were a 19-year-old young man. I assumed after watching the first couple games that I had seen you play, you were an adult who had been playing for even longer because of the guys I knew through the Yeti, Ty Hill, Neil Powless, Alex Cook, Nate Jobson. Like there's so many guys. Kiefer, these guys have been playing forever.
Yeah,
It's pretty impressive. So you really have to, I mean, you go out of your way to make sure you're playing on all kinds of teams. You're always on the field, it seems.
yeah. Lacrosse is my favorite thing ever. So, obviously, I love to play it, and I'm not a big field lacrosse guy. So I like to do everything I can with field lacrosse. That's not playing. So, but box lacrosse, any tournament, anywhere I gotta go, I'll be there. You know what I mean? So when I was in high school, there was a couple of years in a row where I would go to New Jersey and Philadelphia 5 or 6 times a month just to go play in a tournament, and it's just it was fun, and as a result, I just ended up getting that experience and those shots that I needed.
Yeah, huge shout out to your parents for dragging you all over the place. I mean, it's
Yeah, I
not,
mean, my mom, she drives me everywhere. Uh, Over the summer, I did the Upstate Collegiate Box Lacrosse League, and of course that's in Rochester and Buffalo. So practices, games, it was on the thruway 2 or 3 nights a week.
yeah. And your mom also keeps score. That's how I first met your mother and found out was because she was keeping score for the Eels and she came over to help us with some of the names that we seem to butcher for the Yeti broadcast.
Yeah, she keeps score. She was at SU from 88 to 99. Yeah, and she was the manager there, so that's when kept score. And then now that I'm playing and she's my manager now, in a way, she's keeping my score and then whenever she can help out. So I I couldn't be where I am right now without my mom, and that's a fact.
Yeah, your mom's amazing. And the stuff your mom
Yeah.
does outside of just helping you to help the sport of lacrosse. So LAXNAI, for people who really didn't know what was going on behind the scenes, your mom helped keep score and volunteered there and basically lived at the odd for 3 4 days.
Yeah. She yeah, it was interesting cuz we she put that team in our LGODS team. And it was kind of spur of the moment, just because of the nature of the tournament, because we didn't know until August that it was happening. So we had to put that team together in a little less than a month and a half. And so then she was also asked to work on top of it. And while we were playing in Utica, we'd have to come back, the players, for OCC practice. So it was either we were at OCC or we were at Utica. And that's kind of how our weekend went. It was just going back and forth and back and forth. But we loved it, and we were appreciative that we were able to have that experience as a team so that we can come back and be that much closer as a group.
Yeah, I did not realize that that team was just a basically, oh God, hey, let's get a team together and go play.
Yeah, it wasn't like an organized thing. This was our first tournament ever. And we're hoping to do more now that we know that we can do it, and that it works and we had fun. So, um, but yeah, that was we just we wanted to put a team in. So, and the raw talent that we have here at OCC is, yeah, it's just amazing. So, we put it all together, and my mom spearheaded that whole thing, and that's why we were able to play.
Yeah, huge shout out to your mom for that because
Yeah.
watching clipping through the games, I mean, and especially the level of talent you guys were playing out there. So one of the first clips of that Rochester Bats game, which I'm sure you'd like to forget, is Tyson Bell scoring on you.
Yeah.
But what's even more impressive is you're a 19-year-old young man. So most of those guys on the team are current players.
Mhm.
So most of you guys are under 21,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is crazy because you guys played really good against that Rochester Bats team. I mean, you definitely had your moments of, oh my goodness, while we're playing against professionals. But for
Yeah.
the most part in that tournament, it's hard for me to believe that you guys were all under 21, young men, kids basically going out there and playing against some of the best players in the world.
Yeah. And even now, it's still kind of to think that we held them within five, and we're a whole bunch of 19-year-old kids. And we walked out of that game. We were not enthused with the outcome of the game, but we were happy and proud that the way that we didn't give up and the way we just fought through the whole thing. And we have, like I said, a lot of talent here. Um, we just we don't like to give up. That's worse than losing on top of it. So
Yeah, what place did you guys come in?
sixth place.
That's that's crazy. I mean, you guys played, and you figure the Yeti, who are a team, and yes, they were banged up and missing a lot of their players, but still, they're an adult team that
Yeah,
just was at nationals, and they came in 11th.
yeah, yeah. I was expecting. Well, I thought we were going to play the Yeti, and I was kind of hoping we weren't going to play the Yeti for that reason because I knew that they're a high caliber team and they're always there to compete and they've been practicing all summer long, so they have that chemistry. And so it was kind of weird seeing them play and not me being in net playing against them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because you definitely have played against them so many times.
Yeah,
Now, one of the first games where we had actually set up like, oh man, we're going to get a little serious with this and live stream the game with our own equipment instead of using the odds was that game where you guys beat them in Rome.
was it with the concrete floor there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
And that was when I first started to like realize I was like, wow, this kid is really good. And that was when your mom was like, he's only 19 and plays for the under 21 team. And I was like, are you serious? That blew my mind in that game. And that's when I just started clipping your saves all the time. And then I finally got to meet you to tell you, hey, I have a ton of highlights of your games that I got to clip, and I can't wait for you to get to see them. I've been kind of holding on to some of them because I knew I was going to get a chance to talk to you. But
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for doing that. It's kind of hard to get your hands on film that it's not that you don't set up for yourself. So the fact that you just did that for me, it means a lot to me, and thank you for that.
yeah, no, it's been a privilege really of mine to watch you play against some of these guys that are, I mean, amazing players. When I found out you were 19, I was like, oh man, that's crazy, and you really were out there with the best in the world playing.
Yeah.
How did you end? You're welcome. How did you end up with the Eels?
So COVID happened, and 2019, I had played for the Onondaga Redhawks junior B team, and my plan was to hopefully go somewhere in Canada before that. And then COVID happened, so the border shut down, everything went on pause, and the only lacrosse well, one of the two that was open was this. At the time, it was the IBLA, and they were the only team around, and I didn't want to lose that time of not being able to suit up, get shots, play lacrosse, because I know that would work against me in the long run. And so this team entered the IBLA, um, and we're from Syracuse, and I'm from Syracuse, so it wasn't too hard to reach out to me, and I knew the GMs before that anyway. So um, when they had the idea to put that team in, put it together, they had me, Goa Abrams, and Troy Benedict. So yeah,
So there's three goalies splitting the time, and you just through making sure you were able to play got hooked up with those guys. Now I don't know too much about the Eels. I've heard a little bit here and there from guys. Who
yeah,
are they're twin brothers?
yeah. So they're twin brothers. They're Haudenosaunee. They they live here in Syracuse. They're both college coaches down in Pennsylvania. Not the same college, but there's I couldn't tell you where. Um, but they're two identical twins that just love lacrosse, and they'll do anything for anyone to play.
Yeah, huge shout out to them and
Yeah,
everybody with the IBLA to to give everybody the opportunity to play, and then the NABLL stepped up, kind of took the reins, but without guys like they're the Arnolds, right?
yeah, Croy and Clay. Yep.
Croy and Clay Arnold. Without guys like that starting the leagues, doing the administrative stuff that nobody wants to do, getting this, floor space, especially during COVID, that must have been tough. And then this year you were their only goalie, correct?
Yeah. So last year we had three goalies. One of them was in the NLL and still is. That's Goa. Um, the other one was Troy. He's from up north. So I was the youngest guy and the one with the least experience. And now this year I was the only goalie. We had a backup too, but it was more of when he could come kind of thing. So um, on the sheet I was the the goalie, the guy. So um, like last year I was thinking to myself, well, these are men, these are grown men. I have to wait another couple of years to be with these grown men and to play with them and keep up. And now this year, my feet were thrown right in the fire, luckily, um, and I was able just to get that much better because of these guys. So
Yeah, I didn't get to see too many of your games outside of when you guys played the Yeti. How was the rest of your season? Like, how was that for you? Like you said, feet in the fire, playing 19-year-old kid, and then next time I see you is the Northeast Championship, which comes down to the wire.
yeah, so the season, we did well. We walked away happy with what we did, and we were satisfied by our results. Um, Not so much how many games we won or anything like that, but the measure of how much we got better and how much fun we had in that 2.5 3 months span. But being the only goalie, obviously it's always fun, but at the same time it can be a liability because God forbid anything ever happens.
Yeah.
Uh, there's that gray space with that. So um, like I said, we had a backup goalie from Rochester. Most of the games. So God forbid anything did happen, he would take the reins. But um, it was fun, but it was also don't play recklessly.
Yeah, it it's crazy to me, like the entire goalie position, because you could say what you want, like everything about a team sport is 100% true, and you need defense to help, give you better shot options, like forcing them outside, getting on their hands and stuff like that. But like in that Rochester Bats game, what always impresses me is right off the bat you get scored on by Tyson Bell, but then somehow you guys manage to just forget it completely, move on to the next one, and you're playing. That's a huge thing, especially for a guy as young as you to be able to do that and just like overcome like, oh my goodness, Tyson Bell just scored on me. He's playing for, we all know who he is. And it's like, wow. And you somehow almost immediately afterwards, just boom, it clicks and you're like in the game. And
Yeah, it's a mindset, right? I think playing goalie is definitely a mindset, and um, when I first started playing, I didn't know anything about that mindset, so I'd get all mad and get down on myself, and potentially could have a really bad game after those one or two quick goals in the beginning. Um, but over the time, I've figured out that lacrosse is a you know comes down to the last whistle, and we could be down 8-1 at half, which did happen one time, and we won the game. And it's things like that where you put it into perspective. Each time you play, you look back on those other times and said, okay, 2 goals, great. Like doesn't matter. It's that next one, that matters. And I was privileged to get to know a goalie. His name is Dallas Elliott. He's in the NLL Hall of Fame and the Canadian Hall of Fame. He's arguably the best box lacrosse goalie of all time, and he has given me a lot of advice, a lot of tips, pointers, and one of those things is don't worry about what just happened. Just keep going. Don't look back and get yourself down because the only thing that matters is what's coming up next. Yeah.
yeah, that's a huge mindset. So, I mean, with that being said, how did you end up with Team USA essentially too? Because these things are not just like it's not like you go to your town little league field and you're playing little league. Like you had to travel to get on these teams. Could you explain a little bit how
Yeah.
like you started and what organization you started with, and then just kind of give me a
Yeah. So I started playing lacrosse when I was 12. So kind of late in perspective of other players. Um, I started playing in 2016. That was my first season. I played for the Onondaga Redhawks. That's where I started out. Um, I started as a bantam. I played 2 years of bantam, 1 year of midget, and then I played a year of junior B. Um, so throughout the time, um, I think starting where I started gave me that foot ahead um, in terms of my age because I was when I joined the team, the goalie had been playing since he was 5 years old. So he had 7 years on me, just in that sense. And luckily, all of the coaches I had there were willing to teach me and give me a chance. And I think that's why I was able to gain the skill and the experience so quick without playing since I was 5 years old. Um, so that being said, uh, 2019 was an interesting year. I was 15. I was playing junior B. Um, I was the youngest guy in the league. Uh, I was the only goalie that Onondaga had. So that was, like I said about the Eels, the same thing. Um, and that year, being the only goalie, being 15, only playing for 3 years at that point, that year, junior B really excelled the progress because I had no other choice. It was either keep up or lose every single game. Um,
now junior B that goes up to 19.
so junior B age, I think now is 17 to 21 or 18 to 21.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah.
So you were playing against 21-year-olds as a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you kind of were used to playing against grown men since you've been
Yeah. And that was part of the reason I did it. Because there was a goalie coach at Onondaga that told me any chance that I can get to play with older guys at the higher level, do it because that'll just make you better. And in that moment, it clicked, and I fully comprehended what he was saying. And so that year, I decided not to participate in my second year of midgets, and just go straight into juniors. But to get back to the original question about USA, I I can't honestly remember if it was someone sent me the link or said, "Hey, you should try out for this," or if I saw it. Being completely honest, it was 2017 when I started trying out for this team. Um, there was no World Junior Games in 29 no, sorry, 2020 and 2021. So I had been trying out for the U21 program since I believe it was 2017 or 18. Um, so I'd try out, and how it would work is they would come to like a major city. So it was either Philadelphia, um, somewhere near Newark, New Jersey, um, Ohio, like Cincinnati, Chicago, Denver. But I would predominantly go to Philadelphia or New Jersey, things like that. So we'd go down there. I would try out. Um, I would obviously be the youngest guy because they're all freshmen and sophomores in college. Um, and I wouldn't get onto the next round. Um, so that would push me to go back home and say, okay, what do I got to do so the next time I can be on this team, and achieve my goal and dream of representing the U.S. in lacrosse, my favorite way. Um, so 2020, we had one tryout, because at that time the World Games were still on, and then something happened in Canada where their COVID situation spiked back up, so they had to cancel it. Um, so maybe, I don't know. I'd like to think in 2020 I had a good shot, but this year was the first year that we were to fully get back into it, and do the full blown tryout combine. So this year, I had a tryout in February, and they said, "Okay, that was good. You did a good job. So now, in a month and a half, we're going to take you to Cattaraugus to do our combine, um, our training camp. Sorry, they called it, and that was the final cut. So we spent a week in Cattaraugus. Um, wake up, go play lacrosse, come back, eat lunch, then go back and play lacrosse, then come back. So it was a good week to have. It taught me how to manage my time, and a look into a life of a professional lacrosse player, just by the way that we were treated in a good way, and the responsibility I had at the same time. So that had happened. We did the training camp, and then about a week later, I got an email saying, Congratulations, you've been accepted to play." And of course, that was a crazy moment in my life. So I've been working for it for 5 years at that point. So it was surreal to get that email and to go up there and put that jersey on, um, and not be in a training camp or at a tryout, to be in a game situation with the United States.
Yeah, that must have been awesome. So at the time you were 18?
When I started trying out,
No, no, no. When you finally made the U21 team, you were,
yes, I was 18 when I had made the roster.
yeah. And then you, like you said, you got to actually put the jersey on, go through with it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing, especially when you consider you started playing the sport 6 years before that, competing against guys that have been playing for pretty much double that time.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah. It's still, even right now. It's still. I'm glad I'm sitting down when I'm thinking about that. 'Cause I know there are people that have been doing this, like you said, way longer than I have. And I don't know. I've been blessed with all the circumstances I've had. Being able to play for the Red Hawks, being able to go to tournaments every weekend for 2 years straight. Um, my mom, driving me around everywhere. Um, just everyone that I've been able to play with, meet, connect with. That's what's really allowed me to be where I am today and make that team over the summer. Was just yeah,
Yeah. It's what it really comes down to is great coaches though. Like you said, if you had a fortunate set of circumstances where your mom put you in a position to have great coaching, and that's a huge shout out to all the coaches throughout it. And that's really what it takes is the more people we get like that coach the kids and grow the sport, and then we're getting better and better. Yeah, I think like you said, that's really what it demands is, and you've gotten to meet some amazing people along the way, I'm sure. When did you first meet Dave Mathers? Do you know him?
yes. Dave Mathers. So I first watched him play in the 2015 World Games. That my mom had signed me up to work. So before that, I didn't know anything about lacrosse. And my mom, having an intense lacrosse background at SU, she said, "Oh, you're gonna love it." So she signed me up. I worked the whole tournament, and that's where I saw Dave play. Um, and then the LAXNAI, the first one, right after the World Games in 2016, I saw Dave Mather there again, and I freaked out because he was the USA goalie, and I freaked out even more because he said he remembered me. But after that, we've gotten in touch and we've become friends, and we love to see each other play lacrosse. Um, so yes, I know Dave Mathers pretty well.
I thought I remembered him saying that to me when I talked to him that you guys had gotten to know each other. He's an awesome guy. He was
Yeah,
great. He came up and visited us when we were doing the nationals, talked to us for a little while. He's awesome.
yeah,
He's been a lot of places with lacrosse too. He played for the Onondaga Red Hawks as well, right?
yeah. He played 1 or 2 years of senior B there
Yeah.
when he moved from Seattle to here. But I think he's back in Seattle now. Pretty
Yeah.
sure. But
Yeah, he's back in Seattle now. He runs at Seattle Kings in the NABLL.
that's right. Yep.
That was how I got to meet him, and yeah, he's a great guy. He knows a lot about lacrosse. Oh my goodness, we talked for
He, well, from what I understand, he played either minors or juniors in Burnaby, British Columbia. So he was able to instantly have that Canadian lacrosse experience, and that's why he's as good as he is.
yeah, that's a huge thing. Is for I'm only 2 hours east of you, and where I am, there is like no box lacrosse. It's starting to get a little traction here and there. The Firewolves helped that a lot coming into Albany, but yeah, it's amazing to me that we still don't have the youth leagues into it. I mean, it takes a lot, I guess, building the boards and stuff, but why now most of our ice rinks have ice all year long. They're just playing hockey. It's kind of tough, but
And in same in Syracuse, and you'd figure that Syracuse, anything with lacrosse, it would be here. Um, but it's predominantly field. Box is starting to pick up, but it's still not on the level of like Rochester, Buffalo. Um, Rochester's box culture is crazy. They play it all year round, and they do. Same with Buffalo. There's always things going on in Buffalo and Rochester, but not a lot in Syracuse for box. But I think the NABLL putting teams in or having teams in Utica and Saugerties and Albany, I I think that plants the seed for box lacrosse in other areas other than the traditional hotbeds, and that's what's going to get everyone better and put Americans on the board to hopefully get more players in the NLL.
yeah, that's I mean the ultimate goal of it. I know Paul's really excited. Once the Nexus Center is finished in Utica, there's supposed to be turf indoors all year long on one of the rinks, so that'll be awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, what is your plan? So what are you going to school for at Onondaga?
So here, I am a business administration major, but my goal and plan is to go to Syracuse University next year for sports management.
And then hopefully get involved in one of the sports teams and kind of, is that what your mom essentially did? I mean,
Yes, she was the manager for the men's lacrosse team for 10 or 11 years. Um, right in the prime time to be at Syracuse for lacrosse too. So that would be one of my sub goals of the getting into Syracuse would be to be the managers of the lacrosse program there too.
yeah, it's a very historic program. It's that is one fortunate thing about being out there is you at least have all the guys playing field. Uh, it it's a unique sport as far as it's the oldest sport in America, but people still don't know much about it, and it's growing. It's just a slow process, it seems like.
Yeah, that's my goal. Is to get lacrosse to as many people as possible, and to try to build lacrosse in places where you typically don't hear or say lacrosse in those kind of places. Even in New York, I mean, there are places in New York State that have never had a lacrosse team at their high school. Um, I know, like downstate and up near the Adirondacks in that area, there are still places that
Yeah,
don't
that's
have lacrosse sticks.
that's where I am. Our high school team, I'm actually in Hudson Falls. It's just what we're 40 minutes north of Albany. But our high school team just got one, and then we have a town that's kind of like northeast of us, Queensbury, which is a pretty big town, and they're the last team until you get all the way up by Plattsburgh. And
Yeah,
but a lot of those schools through there, they don't even have enough players really to field their teams that they have now.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's
uh, there's nothing in my life I'd like to bring lacrosse to places that are capable of doing it. And places like that, it's just you can show them lacrosse, and after that, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just kind
well, it takes people like you, like your mom, that are willing to travel and put in all the time and the hours to do it. And then the next thing you know, now you're in the Syracuse area, you're coaching in Onondaga. I mean, you guys put together an amazing team, spur of the moment for that. And that's kind of how things grow. Is just everybody through passion, like your passion to play the sport and your mom's passion to be involved in the sport and help everybody out. You guys gave an opportunity to, I mean, you didn't have the biggest bench. How many guys did you have?
16 or 17 guys
Yeah. So
at,
17
at
guys.
our best game.
Yeah, which sounds like a lot until you're running the floor 4 games in a row.
Yeah, it was a grind. It was a 3 day consistent grind between those games and then coming back to practice.
Yeah, and I mean that those kind of opportunities, it's just we're fortunate when we get to be a part of it. I was happy they let me stream it. I've just been clipping the highlights like crazy. Yeah, very lucky with that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a huge shout out to the guys, the Arnolds, Paul Necker, Bob Leary, all these guys that are helping us spread lacrosse. Your mom helping with LAXNAI because it doesn't happen without people like that in the communities.
yeah, and that's so true. Lacrosse wouldn't be where it is today without people just wanting to see it get better. Because in the sport of lacrosse, there's not a whole lot of money to go around. Um, so when you see professional lacrosse players or people that dedicate their life and time to being in lacrosse, is because they genuinely love it. And that's my favorite part about lacrosse is people are there to have fun, and because they actually love it, it's not a revenue. Most of the time, it's not just for the revenue. It's because they want to see everyone else and themselves have fun and succeed.
Yeah. It's like the rivalry there between the Yeti and the Eel. Even though sometimes it gets a little heated, those guys do not have a negative thing to say about that Eels program. They
Yeah,
they talk so highly of everybody there because as soon as the game's over, they're like, "Oh, okay. Well, hey, we were passionate. We get into it a little bit, but we're all the same as far as we've all had our knucklehead moments. Let's yeah, they've got nothing but great things to say about that program."
yeah, and it's I know over the summer when we play the Yeti, it would get pretty heated in a good way, in a good sportsmanship and competitive way. Um, and we'd start chirping at each other and whatever, and But as soon as that whistle blows, I remember Alex Cook, because I've known Alex for a little while. Uh, he was like, he said something like, "Man, that was a great save you had on me," and it's just things like that where you hate each other when you're playing,
Yeah.
and then as soon as that whistle blows, just like that, you're back to where you were before the game started. So that's in the moment, in the game. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, it's impressive to see you guys out there going as hard as you do. And I mean, I got a chance to talk to Anthony Azari, and he was awesome. I mean, that that's a huge spark plug for your team, and there's a reason he's driving from down by New York City to play with you guys. It's yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's an asset to our team, uh, and especially specifically the offense. But he would drive, like you said, down there to Onondaga, to Utica, wherever he had to go to play, he'd show up. And he would never ask for gas money, anything like that. He was just thrilled to be there, and we were just as thrilled to have him there.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's one of those guys that just truly loves the sport, helps coach it, trying to grow the game. He's pretty awesome. He was fun to talk to. Now, the Eels are made up of mainly what kind of players? Is it younger guys? You got a good mix of older guys? Because I don't know many of the Eels.
So it's a it's a pretty even mix. We have guys that are in college, or of college age, I should say. We have guys that are graduated from college within the last 5 years, so they're still in their 20s. We have guys in their 30s. So it's a pretty wide spectrum of players that we have on that team, and that's from all over too. We're not just from Syracuse. We had this thing called the Roch Bus, and it was 5 or 6 guys that would come from Rochester every practice and every game just to play with us. Um, so we're pretty diverse in that sense.
Yeah, it's a definitely an interesting aspect when you figure how many people are driving and guys like Anthony who are like, yeah, this is amazing. I drive and he played for the Red Hawks during LAXNAI. And that's
Yeah.
when I was like, he's how do you figure this out? He goes, I go to wherever I think the best team is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge shout out. And I mean, that's got to make you feel good as a 19-year-old. You're essentially a goalie, one of the foundations of the team. It's always, you got to have great goalies. And that's one thing that the Yetis have, fortunately, is they have 3 goalies. Uh, Crosby, who's, been in camps. Crosby's awesome.
Yeah.
You've got Sully. I could not believe Sully had only been playing for 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
You would not have known that.
No, he is so good for a guy. I was talking to him one time afterwards, and somebody said, he's only been playing for a couple of years. I was like, get out of here.
Wow.
Yeah,
I figured he would have been playing for a lot more than 2 years.
yeah. And same with Mario Diaz, their third goalie there. He just started. So when I first got involved with the Yeti, I drove out to one of their practices, was doing some highlight clips, and he had just like started putting on goalie gear. So he's had less than a year of goalie experience, and
That's wild.
yeah, he's played amazing in a couple of games, but yeah, it blows my mind. And he's one of the guys, he drives from Schenectady to Utica.
That's a haul. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's that's incredible. I mean, it's people like that give people a chance, that are willing to take people in that have only been playing. Sorry, excuse me, for a certain amount of time, and I think that's even for me. That's what made me or put me in the position that I'm in now. Is people like that, that can just are willing to take you in, willing for you to learn, and maybe not do the best. I'm not saying that the goalies are. The
yeah,
goaltending in Utica is phenomenal, um, but it's just people like that expand the game and give people chances.
yeah. That's one Paul's big thing is they do. So even if they are like, hey, you're not gonna dress for the games, everybody can come to practice. They're welcome. It's like a pickup style practice where everybody's invited. Yes, they're gonna run practice sometimes, especially during the season. But like one of the guys I was talking to the other day, Nathan Jobson. I don't know if you know Jobson at all.
I know of him, yeah.
Yeah, so uh older guy, wasn't in the best shape, started showing up again, started feeling better, and then he didn't dress in your game, but then when they went to nationals, he not only dressed, he was one of the hottest players down there. Like his stick was on fire for a couple games. And lacrosse, actually, I talked to him. Unfortunately, his brother had just passed away, but like lacrosse really helped them get through it. And
Yeah.
Paul's, yeah, I can't say enough about the team and the way they support each other. And
Yeah. And, being on the Eels, looking at the Utica team, even during warmups, when they're on one half of the field and we're on the other, you can just see that natural camaraderie is there, and they would do anything for each other. You could see that, you could feel it, and I think we had something like that with the Eels. We were there for the same reason, to play our favorite thing ever. Um, but you could definitely tell that there was
yeah,
they,
what they
they
have is
love to be
special.
there. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, what they have is special. They because their whole team, like the way they group together. And I mean, obviously what you guys have is special as well, because there's no way that championship game, yes, it didn't go your way,
yeah.
but you have to admit that was some of the best lacrosse being played at the time. Like it was just awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was some of the best lacrosse around. I
Yeah,
mean, at the time, it's just you have two top teams going at it, and it was a tight game, in terms of competitiveness. I know the score wasn't uh, reflecting of that, but each side battled hard, and it was a game. It was just a game. It was exciting. Even now,
yeah,
I'm still getting all excited about it because it was such a good game, to be in, and the stake of that game, um, there's nothing like it.
yeah. Yeah, it's cool. I can't wait till next year when you guys fire up. I'm hoping that this works out where I can keep streaming your guys' stuff. This has been awesome. I'm so glad we got that because there's so many saves. Like I was clipping through, and they've got a guy trying to dive across, and you get just your glove on it, and like that stuff would have never really been captured if it wasn't for Paul. Really, he got this whole thing organized and fired up, and he's infectious. He's like, hey, come on, let's do it. I was like, all right, let's figure it out. And now I'm talking to you on this, and
Yeah,
unbelievably to me, somebody will watch this.
yeah. I mean, it's people like you that give exposure to players, to get looks, whether it to be to go play juniors in Canada, or get into the PBLA, or to get in the NLL, or the next level for them. It's people like you. So thank you for everything that you do, for the sport of lacrosse. It doesn't go unappreciated.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's why I love talking to guys like you. So one of the main reasons that I actually wanted to talk to you too is like Stephen Camp, Bob Leary, everybody I've ever met that has met you is like not only is he a great goalie, he's a great young man. You stayed at LAXNAI even though you were driving back and forth for the championship games and then for some of the other games that not necessarily everybody wanted to volunteer for with the younger kids. But yeah, thank you very much for helping with that and doing it. It's sweet.
Yeah, it's uh, not just the Lax Night, but the Lax Night is my favorite. People say Christmas is the greatest time of the year. To me, it's Lax Night. It's the best time of the year, um, because that tournament, you get to see so many people. You get to meet so many people, but you get to reunite with so many people. Um, like there's a goalie from Philadelphia. That's the only time I get to see him. Um, but that 3 4 days is perfect. So it's uh, it's behind the scenes stuff, um, that allow players the opportunity to have those experiences.
Yeah, it's the yeah, and the guys willing to, like you said, you had guys driving from Pennsylvania. I mean, you had Gold Star there. You had a team from Hungary, team from Poland, team from Israel, and I'm hoping next year it'll be even bigger because now everybody's kind of expecting it. Nobody was really sure what was going to happen up until, like you said, last minute, and then it was okay. Who has a functioning team that we can throw into this?
Yeah,
So yeah, I can't wait for next year. My goal ultimately is if I can make this freaking self-sustaining, whereas like it doesn't cost me money and I can afford to buy equipment with the money we make from this, that would be amazing. So I'm really hoping. Really, all we need is a camera because I had most of the stuff. LAXNAI bought me this sweet headset and some other stuff. We're slowly like accumulating pieces for all this. It's fun. It's been awesome. It's been really a privilege on my end to be able to record guys like Neil Paulus coming down on you and like shooting on you. It's just got to be like, oh
Yeah.
my God, I get goosebumps talking about it because like I get to record him playing and like shooting on you and what that's got to feel. And I'm an old man compared to you. What that's got to feel like as a 19-year-old kid has got to be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I know Neil, he was one of my coaches at Red Hawks. So and I knew the depth of Neil and who he is and his lacrosse career. And it's always a privilege and an honor to play against him. Um it feels pretty good too to get a save or two against him as well. But um every time he scores, it's like I can't get mad. I just can't get mad. It's Neil Paulus. So it's he's a great guy. He taught me a lot about lacrosse, in terms of X's and O's, things like that, and what it means to the Haudenosaunee people. And for that, I'll be forever grateful for Neil.
Yeah, you talk about people who just love this game and go out of their way to spread the game. And what he's educated me about the Haudenosaunee people. And like now I'm watching all the YouTube things on the Onondaga Nation. And yeah, I've learned so much. Guys like that are so awesome because and when you look at the Yeti, they've got some experienced box players, but then they have a ton of people who just aren't, they're all field players who showed up, and having Neil and Ty and Alex and and that's where the Yeti thing really functions is like they never cut the team off. They're like, oh, you want to play? Well, you're not necessarily going to show up to our game, but show up to a practice. We'll see what you look like. And if you're good enough to dress, here we go. And that's the whole reason I think they ended up with Neil and Alex and everybody.
Yeah, and I know on their end, it's just they want to play because that's what they love. So any opportunity that they are offered, they're gonna take that. Uh, and I know Neil, Alex, Ty Hill, those guys are phenomenal lacrosse players, and they uh, they can put up a show anywhere they go. Um, but they're also really really nice guys, really good guys. They've all helped me, whether it's say, hey, can I meet you down at the field in 2 hours to get some shots? They'd spend a couple hours with me just shooting on me. It's things like that where we get to build those relationships on and off the floor. So it kind of comes full circle when this summer I was on the Eels and they were on the Yeti, and it was just like 2 or 3 years ago when it was just me and them, shooting on each other or them shooting on me, and it was fun. It was a good way to connect back and uh, to appreciate like your roots when it comes to where you are now in lacrosse.
Yeah, definitely. I gotta get hooked up with somebody from that Red Hawks organization because they seem to have like really grown. Like everybody, like Neil was a part of it. Alex, Ty, you, um, David Mathers. I mean, there's so many people that went through that organization. Who runs that?
So there's a board. It's called the Onondaga Athletic Club. Um, that's why their jerseys say OAC on it, and not just Red Hawks, because it's an athletic club. So they have like a softball program in the athletic club. They have a couple other programs I think as well, and it's really a board. There's not one person who runs it.
Yeah, that's crazy, and it's awesome that so many people are volunteering. I'm sure to make sure that program runs, and that's
Yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah.
All right. Well, I got to get running, but before I go, if you ever like if you've got a game, get a hold of me because if I've got nothing going on, I can sometimes buzz up there.
Okay.
I'm hoping somebody has unofficially got a hold of me. We might be getting some. I might be getting an equipment upgrade and streaming.
Oh wow, that'd be awesome.
That would be because then when I show up, I'll have a camera like I had at LAXNAI,
Yeah. You're
which
ready
would be
to rock and
sweet.
roll.
It makes the saves look way better. Like I can see like two of the saves I was clipping today is one is Tyson Bell coming down and he shoots and it goes off the crossbar. But when you look at it in slow motion, you can see it actually hits your shoulder is the only reason it hits the crossbar. So like that kind of stuff that people don't normally get to see. Like I spent forever because I slowed it down and I'm zooming in.
Yeah.
But it's sweet because I could actually catch like those little touches.
Yeah, and film like that, like for I didn't know that, what you just told me. I didn't know that. I knew it hit the crossbar, but I didn't know that it scuffed off the top. So it's things like that where I can go back through and watch every game and break down each play and say, okay, what could I have done better here or there? So, film is my best friend. So thank you for putting that together and offering that up to me.
Yeah, no problem. And like I said, anytime you especially if the Eddie are there, just assume I'll be there probably because they're
Okay.
crazy. And Paul always makes sure, yeah, he's like, hey, let's go. Yeah, we started this with holding on to our cell phones,
Yeah.
and now we've got this. But yeah, it's been awesome talking to you. Hopefully we
Yeah.
keep talking. And yeah, like I said, if I hear anything about any tournaments or whatever, I'll shout you out. But
Appreciate that.
yeah, same thing. If you know like there's a tournament going on somewhere, be like, hey, these guys are running it, get in touch with them. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll be in touch. Thank you for having me on your show today. It
yeah.
means a lot that you would reach out to me, and uh, it's the first thing. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. So thank you for giving me that time.
That's awesome. I'm glad I got to be a part of it really. And takes my wife like a week to go through because I just clip all the highlights and send them to her. And
Yeah,
when I do it, she's like, it looks terrible. So she's fixing them now so they look better.
yeah, that's
But
awesome.
all right, man. Thanks a lot for your time and we'll talk to you later.
Yeah, thank you. I'll see you.
See you, bud.